Getting record.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the February 28th meeting of the Needham Commission on Disabilities. The agenda was posted and so we can proceed as planned. But before we get started, I want to welcome our guest, Stacy Mulroy. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us. And after we do the introductions of Masumi, who is a new member, we're going to put you right on the agenda first, if that works for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So Masumi, we are so happy to have you join the commission and want to welcome you. So I thought, so you could hear everybody's voices, we could go around and sort of introduce ourselves and our roles. You know, you had the opportunity to talk with me. I'm Carol Thomas, one of the co-chairs. So I can start us off and hand it over to Jeannie.
Thank you.
I don't have much of a voice.
Yeah.
I am Jeannie Martin, co-chair with Carol.
All right. Okay, Tatiana.
Hi, I'm Tatiana Swanson. I'm the town's liaison for the Commission on Disabilities.
Okay, Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Morales, another member of the commission. Nice to meet you.
And Maureen.
Hi, I'm Maureen Kelly. I am also a member. I joined last year. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Alexa.
Hi, I'm Alexa Moore. I'm also a member and I'm in my second term, I guess, right now. And I'm the secretary as well. So I take minutes and send them out afterwards. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
You too.
Excellent. And I see Kelly joining us. I'm going to just give her a, you know, Kelly is our police department liaison. And once she gets situated, I'm going to let her speak so you can hear her voice. But while we wait for her to do that, Masumi, why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us, you know, Jeannie and I had the opportunity to talk with you, but maybe tell the commission a little bit about yourself and your background and why you're interested in serving on the commission.
Thank you first. Thank you to all of you for introducing yourself. And it's very nice to be here in this disability committee. I'm Masume. I'm here living in US in Needham for about 6 months. Indeed, I'm living in US about 6 months, which I'm living in Needham. I'm originally from Iran. In Iran, I worked with disabled people, disabled students and adults for some volunteer or some of my job, which I was a liaison teacher for vision impaired students. And 2 years ago, I moved to Germany to study for my second master. Then I married there and I came here with my husband 6 months ago. I was born totally blind, and overall, I had this option to live in 3 countries, which America is the third one.
This meeting is being recorded.
So I always had this in my mind that how we can make things more accessible for disabled people. It can be the real streets or real bus stop or things like this, and it can be digital and social media and websites. Overall, it was always in my mind. And when I came to Needham is overall is good. You know, it's accessible, but we can make our town better and more accessible. So why not? So I like to be here, and I like to be to do what I can do to make our town better.
Terrific. Thank you so much for that. And we look forward to all you have to contribute. Kelly, you joined while we were doing the introductions. I just wanted Masumi to hear your voice. If you could just introduce yourself. And you were on mute. It looks like she's having technical troubles. So we cannot hear you. So I'm going to give you a moment. And I also want to welcome, oh, there, are you?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me now?
We can indeed. Yeah.
My apologies, I was having an issue with my laptop logging into the Zoom meeting. I had to use my cell phone to get in and back on my laptop. Sorry I'm late. Welcome, I'm Officer Kelly Scopanetti. I believe I met, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your first name?
Masume.
I met you at the senior center.
Oh,
I'm Officer,
interesting.
yeah, do you go to the senior center?
Yes, I go. I go there.
Yeah, I've met you a few times in the cafeteria area having coffee or lunch. Welcome.
Good. I'm so happy.
Great. And we have Kalpana join us. She's a Needham citizen who joins us on occasion. Welcome, Kalpana. Stacy, why don't we turn it over to you? I'm going to let you.
Good evening, everybody.
All right. Good evening, Kalpana. Thank you for that. So Stacy, welcome. And Stacy is here to, if you could do a little bit of an introduction. Stacy is here to talk with us about accessible playgrounds.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stacy Miller. I'm the Director of Park and Recreation here for the town of Needham. And I just wanted to introduce myself and talk to you guys about accessible playgrounds and look for your input and just sort of get you informed on where we are at. So you have a better sense. So in 2021, I've been with the town 4 years, actually, like this week. So it feels kind of crazy because I started like a week after COVID. So I can't believe it's been 4 years already. So in 2021, I had an outside contractor do a playground assessment. That playground assessment is on our website under fields and facilities, I believe. So it's a thorough assessment of each of our playgrounds and what they need to be great. So basically the person that did it broke it down into 3 categories. I like to refer to them as the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we have a couple of excellent playgrounds. We have some playgrounds that definitely need to be renovated and on our capital plan, our 5 or 10-year capital plan. And we have the chunk in the middle that need varying degrees of TLC and varying amounts of money to produce that TLC. So I just wanted to touch base with you about some of the things that we've done in the 4 years that I've been here and what the next couple of years look like. So feel free to stop me at any time. I can tend to ramble and go off on tangents, so feel free to reel me back in. Playgrounds are my passion. I would love all of our playgrounds in Needham before I leave. Not yet, Tatiana. To be fully accessible, not just mobility wise, but getting people up in the air and having a lot more opportunities for people of all ages and all abilities. So this winter, most recently, we went through all of our playgrounds and installed swing mats and replaced swing chains. It sounds like something simple. It has actually a fairly hefty price tag, but we did work with the schools to split the cost on putting down swing mats and chains wherever we needed them. At Broadmeadow, I'm gonna go through the schools playgrounds and then I'll go through the town playgrounds and I'll go one by one just to give you the quick update. And if you have any questions, like I said, jump in. Broadmeadow and Elliott are our 2 school playgrounds that are actually probably next up on the school side for full renovations. They're also in line to have field renovations. So what DPW and I have been talking about is when like the Elliott Field or the Broadmeadow Field is being renovated, piggybacking that and having the playgrounds renovated at the same time. So we have one construction project one time and sort of, I wouldn't say limit the labor costs, but it does decrease if you can combine those projects. So we're looking at those potentials for both Broadmeadow and Elliott because those 2 fields are up next on DPW's capital project. At Broadmeadow, we also installed the funnel ball game, but we installed it a little bit lower, not just because the kids there are little, but it also makes it more accessible to everybody. Not those funnel ball games in the sky that were like 10 feet high when we were kids. They're now much lower and more accessible for everybody. At Mitchell, I am working with the school actually Friday. We have a student there with dwarfism and we're looking to lower the swings So that student can access the swings on their own. I have worked with a couple of different disability commissions to make sure and playground inspectors to make sure that that is okay and safe. And we have been able to do that in the past, and we're going to do that again. We're also looking at Mitchell is one of the playgrounds where it is part. I'm going to use a term here called PIP. It's called poured in place. That's the rubberized surfacing that you see on some of our playgrounds. Those are our most accessible playgrounds. Surfacing, sorry. It's mix of that and EWF, which is engineered wood fibers that are engineered to have a little bit more bounce. So we're looking at pulling up all of that and just making it fully poured in place. And to give you some sort of understanding on the cost of this rubberized surfacing, we recently did greens full poured in place to the cost of about $300,000. And that was just surfacing. That's no playground equipment whatsoever. It's just the surfacing. Despite the high cost, I am a huge proponent for PIP, not just for accessibility. But we live in New England where there's lots of freeze and thaw cycles. Turf freezes, the wood fibers freeze. It feels like you're landing on cement. Poured in place does not freeze. It still has a little bit of give. So there's a lot of research out there on the, there's less instances of broken bones, concussions, things like that from falls, which is why Massachusetts in particular makes it a requirement whenever renovating a playground. Elementary school at Newman. So there's two playgrounds. There's one, the giant one at Newman is the elementary school playground. That is in turf. That is technically an accessible playground. However, the turf is tearing in different places, making it less accessible and bumpy. However, it's very expensive to fix. So that will also move over to a poured in place when we can get to it. When we did the research to repair the turf, it was strikingly close to just fully pulling the whole thing and doing poured in place. The Needham Preschool, which is on the other side of the building, kind of tucked in down by the Eastman Trail. The schools are putting in for a capital project to completely renovate that, redo the poured in place, because at the time, black was apparently a very popular color to do poured in place, but black rubber attracts heat. And there was no shade at that playground. So we are going to go with a lighter color to make the kids able to use it during the school day. Because between the hours of about noon and 2 during the warmer months, they can't use that playground because it's too hot. And we're going to add shade. Williams Playground, Sunita Williams, both of those playgrounds are our newest playgrounds. They are fully accessible. But you know, whenever I'm out there with my kids and other kids in our programs, I'm always kind of wondering, but what are we missing, right? Like there's got to be something else. Are we hitting all of our needs, even at our most inclusive playground? So that's one of the questions that I have for you folks or anybody else that's interested in making these accessible playgrounds. So those are all the school playgrounds. Technically, the town does have the jurisdiction over all of our playgrounds, meaning I own, operate, and maintain all of our playgrounds, regardless if they're on school grounds or not. But we have been working with the schools in the last year, and they have been helping us fund some of our maintenance needs. So that's been really helpful. Any questions on the schools before I jump over the towns?
That sounded very thorough to me.
Okay. On the town side, cricket is the small playground in the back of the cricket fields. It is probably one of the most difficult playgrounds to make accessible just because of the location and the access to it. I am working with a couple of different people. CPSI is the Certified Playground Safety Inspector. I am currently a CPSI, but I've been working with other to get some ideas on how to make that accessible because it's up on a hill. It's a tough one. But we still updated the chains and put in the spring mats, and we do have an ADA swing over there as well. DeFazio is our tot lot down by the DeFazio Park. That is actually currently in the middle of a renovation project. So we're in the early design phases of creating a new accessible playground over there. It won't look as spread out as it is. We cannot do port in place on that entire area. That would be very expensive. Also, it's very close to wetlands and conservation land, so we're gonna shrink the footprint, but still have the same amount of play value at that particular playground. Greens, like I said before, just recently completed our full installation of port in place. And again, always looking for other ideas to make it more inclusive. We did add a second ADA swing, but it's just not enough. We can do more. We can do more at all of our playgrounds. So also looking for some feedback on those kinds of things. Mills is an interesting playground. So Mills over on Gould Street by our tennis courts, it has a little league field. The playground pieces are in decent condition, but it needs a lot of TLC. And in addition, that playground has a group from the Charles River Center that comes down nearly every day in the warmer weather and uses it. These folks are on the older end of big kid. They're more in the 18 to 24 age group. But they use it pretty consistently. And so I'm looking to add more play value for folks that are kids that are slightly bigger, and have different needs. More spinning features, swings that are more accessible for them, that kind of thing. So again, any feedback on that one would be great. Perry is the next town playground that would be up for a full reno. This one's tricky because anytime you put in a new playground, you get a lot of visitors. But Perry is definitely a neighborhood park and it has limited parking. So we're looking at parking that's not end-to-end parking, because if you have an accessible vehicle or a vehicle that has a wheelchair accessibility, you can't park end-to-end. You have to park at a slant or in a parking spot. So when that comes around, we'll work with DPW and the new Director of Transportation to try and make sure that those spots are more accessible. Riverside, most people don't know Riverside exists. It's on the other side of 95 or 128. It's a tiny playground. It's a beautiful spot. It is 0% accessible. So we're looking at different ways to make that one more accessible for folks, but it is probably our most, we call them pocket parks. It's smaller and the most use comes from that particular neighborhood. And then the last one is Walker Gordon, which is an interesting playground to me. I'm always fascinated by that one because there's like two pieces. One of them is an accessible swing, but again, it has the wood fibers, which until recently was considered by some folks to be an accessible surface, but it is absolutely not. So we're just looking at different ways to sort of tick away at all the needs that we have at our different playgrounds. And those are all the town playgrounds.
Right. So do they all have accessible parking? Do all the playgrounds have accessible parking?
No, in fact, a lot of our playgrounds don't have any accessible parking. Even DeFazio has it has an accessible spot, but not necessarily parking because it's the stone dust over at DeFazio.
Yeah.
Sonita and Greens have some accessible parking. Sonita more than Greens because Greens is street parking and it's that end-to-end parking, which makes it difficult for a wheelchair van or wheelchair equipped car. But when we do renovate, anytime I do any project, I'm big on accessibility and access. But one of the things we always look at is parking needs of those facilities. Another good example is Cricket, where there's very limited parking anyway, and certainly no accessible parking.
Do you need fundraising, Stacy? Or are you good with all these budgets?
I love this question. It's my favorite question.
You paid me that. No, I'm kidding.
It's hard to say no if people want to raise money. When it comes to full renovation projects, it's more about, does the town have the ability to staff and manage these programs, these projects? So like, one person said, well, why don't you just renovate all the playgrounds at the same time?
Yeah.
But aside from the cost, that is next to impossible to manage. We have 18 playgrounds in town.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of different projects. So And, you know, when it comes to the capital budget, it's not always, playgrounds aren't always gonna come first, although it is hard to say no to playgrounds, I believe. But there's other things going on in town, road projects, buildings, schools, things like
Right.
that. For the maintenance part, we do have a maintenance budget. FinCom has been very great about helping us sort of build up that budget. The trick of maintaining playgrounds, there isn't like a contractor, like there's no playground contractor. You have to find a contractor that has done it before and then have somebody like myself go out and inspect it afterwards. So having more funding would be certainly helpful for that middle group to upgrade, change out, things like that. But for the renovation projects, it's a little bit more difficult. It's more complicated, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that does. Did you ever end up working with that, like, sorry, that accessible playground nonprofit?
Yeah, so I had a lot of different meetings with them. They're really great. They're super helpful, but they want to go like right now and do things. And we were talking in the future more. So when the next project comes up, we'll try to pull them back in and work with them, certainly. But they were like, okay, but we're ready to go. And it just, municipal government just doesn't work that way. And we had already gotten one budget for one project, so we couldn't pull them in as a contractor. So we have to wait for the next one.
Got it.
Maureen, did you have a question? Yeah.
I did. I have two actually. Brief, quick ones, I think. DeFazio, I know you're in the design phase right now for that. Is that still going to remain just for like toddlers, the really littlest? Okay, so it'll still remain that. And will that also be accessible? Will that also have some equipment that would be obviously junior sized for young children?
Yes, absolutely. So DeFazio is the only standalone toddler playground. We have a lot of other toddler options, like Greens has a 2 to 5 playground and a 5 to 12 playground. Those are age groups. But DeFazio remains our only standalone 2 to 5 playground, so it will stay that way. And the playground companies and equipment are really starting to evolve, and the accessibility options are phenomenal, even for the littles.
Good. That's good. My other question was about the Millsfield playground that's being used so regularly by Charles River Center clients. Has anyone thought to just call Charles River and see if there might be ideas of like what their favorite is? Like what do everybody gravitates to? Like my son, for instance, would be on the swing the entire time he's at that park. I guarantee you he's autism. And I just don't know if there's something that's like really, really popular with that group. And since they use it so much, I wonder if it would, if
Yeah,
Charles
we
would
reached
get
out.
to weigh in a little bit on that.
Yep, I did reach out to them back in 21 because when our contractor went out to do the assessment, they were there and she spoke with them at length.
Oh, okay.
She also has a child on the spectrum, so for her, this was like, yes, how do we make this work? And my plan when that comes back around, and I've also met out there with them. And yeah, spinning, lots of spinning, lots of movement, swinging and spinning. That's what they want.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
And what about kids with vision impairment? I'm not really sure how that, how we support that on the playgrounds.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's come up more and more. And I've talked to most of our playgrounds in town are from one vendor. That they were by and large the best vendor, and now we have more and more options. And some of those different companies are coming up with more and more options for people with visual impairments. So as we move towards that will also be something that we're thinking about. Like I said, I try not to focus just on surface, though that is often the first step, because it helps all people with impairments, just because the level ground is certainly helpful for everybody, including myself. So that's usually our first step, but yes, we're looking at all sort of different sensory options, getting people up in the air, and the play value, like not just being able to get to the equipment, but be able to get up into the equipment, regardless of their abilities.
We had 2 moms last week or last month from CPAC that have really champion that organization and represent kind of the neurodivergence, and they were very interested in playgrounds. So they would be happy. They are having some events coming up. If you needed to do like a survey of a selection of people with special needs kids, that could be a great place where you get a 2-for-1.
Yes, we actually work with somebody who I think either was the president or is the president or is still supporting the president in CPAC, because I teach her son swim lessons in the summer.
Oh, cool.
So her and I are in conversations a lot, and she's always like, do you have any other questions for a survey, things like that. So she's been great and super helpful. And I've been on those meetings, you know, intermittently, so thank you. But it's also good to think about I mean, I have a child that is neurodiverse as well, so I often make them go out and be my little playground inspectors and surveyors and tell me what they like and what they don't like. And they're very vocal, I have to say, my kids, about what they like and what they don't like.
Great. I think Felix has his hand up.
Thank you very much. And sorry for being late. I got stuck in a little traffic.
No worries.
On the topic of vision impairments, one thing that might be interesting, Mitchell Playground has some musical kind of chimes and things that may be good add-ons to the tot lot and or greenest for children with vision impairments as well.
Yes, I've been looking at those options for DeFazio certainly, and some add-ons over at Greens as well, because I think music really draws kids in.
And Mitchell has a few that I've seen very, very popular.
Okay. I am actually going to Mitchell on Friday, so I'll take a look.
Any other questions for Stacy? Comments or thoughts? Stacy, anything else to share with us? That was really very thorough.
Thanks. No, like I said, I'm always welcome to input if anybody wants to chat or meet at a specific playground and talk about some needs. I'm happy to do that always. Like I said, it's one of the things that drives me in this position.
Yeah. I love your enthusiasm, and your spirit of it can always be better. So
yes,
that is
always,
terrific.
Always.
So thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we will continue to stay in touch.
Great.
And, you know, appreciate all of the good work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a
You're
good
welcome.
night.
You're welcome to stay or leave and get onto your evening, whatever
I'm
you
gonna go eat dinner, I think.
Okay.
All right. But thank you.
All right.
All
Take
right,
care.
bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right. She was great. So that brings us to the approval of our minutes from the January 16th meeting, which Alexa sent out that evening, I think. And Masume, I don't think you could vote since you weren't here, but I did send you a copy of those minutes just so you could have them and look them over. So we would need a motion, or is there any discussion about the minutes? Any questions before somebody makes a motion to accept them?
I make a motion to approve the January minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Alexa. I think you can do that. And because we are on Zoom, we have to have a roll call vote. So I vote to approve them. Jeannie?
Aye.
Okay, yes. Karen?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Alexa?
Aye.
Felix?
Abstaining. I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, no problem. And Tatiana, can you vote?
Yeah,
I think you can, Tatiana?
yes.
Okay. All right, so one abstention and everybody else, so the motion carries. Thank you. So that brings us to the chairperson's report. I shared an email in February. We voted at the January meeting to support the accessible trail bill in the Massachusetts House and Senate. And then I sent a note about, I can share it here. Can I share, Tatiana?
Yes, of course. Let me just make sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the note that I sent out to everybody from Meg Bandera on Accessible Trails, saying that there is some good news and that the Joint Committee on Environment and Natural Resources received a favorable, support. So this is continuing to be a work in progress, but they did get our letter and our statement of support based on the vote at our last meeting, and there has been some good progress to report. So I just wanted to share that, and you should also have that in your email. The next thing on the list was, there was a question about the number of years in the NCOD term, which I believe is 3. Tatiana, are you on board with that?
I think that's what Miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miles
Yeah.
said it was 3, and there are actually 3 of us whose terms are expiring, myself and Karen and Maureen. And so the select board sends out a online survey this year instead of a paper form or a Word document for us all to complete about our upcoming term of service. So I just completed mine, and Karen and Maureen, yours are in your email with a note from me if you have any questions. So any questions about the term of service for 3 years? Okay. And then Tatiana also sent out earlier today, there's an orientation survey for the people that are new to town committees and commissions, and they're looking for our feedback by March 13th. I also completed that this afternoon. It takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops to complete. If everybody could take a minute to do that, that would be great.
And Carol, were the question mostly related to onboarding and training as a new board member?
They were related to topics about, there were 3 categories: not important, somewhat important, and really important. I'm sort of making that up, but those were the gist of the 3 categories. I don't know if anybody else took it yet.
Yeah.
But and it's sort of, you had to rate the importance, of different, aspects of the town, like the town meeting charter, the conflict of interest regulations, things like that. All right. Any other questions about that? Did anybody else take it? Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing.
I did take it already. My phone was just too slow to unmute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took less than 3 minutes.
Right.
And yeah.
And so it sounds like, Tatiana, then that's something that they would offer for all new committee members. So, for example, that would be something that Masume could take.
So I think it all started a couple of years ago. We had a brand new select board who, did not realize select board meetings take hours.
Yeah.
And so it was her first one as an elected select board meeting member, and she was kind of like, I don't know what this, I have to go, I have children, and we're like, oops, like it kind of like got us thinking that maybe we need to be more structured in the way that we bring officials into the town, and providing them with sort of the expectations and what are some of the things that that you wish you had known upon joining a committee. The open meeting laws, the ethics laws, some of the things. Most committees have a town staff person that staff the meeting, and it hopefully starts to provide some of this education, but just in a more structured way, and try to figure out how we can make your transition into a town official success.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions about that? Okay. So the last thing is.
Oh, I think Jeannie, you wanted to say something? Sorry. She's muted.
You're on, yeah.
I was coughing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Poor thing. All right. If you can put something in the chat if you want me to say it, Jeannie. So otherwise I'll just continue on. So the last thing on the chairperson's report is I wanted to talk about how to use our budget. First, I want to show you what it is. So I'm going to pop that up here. See our budget. I think we've shared this before, but we essentially have, where'd this go? I'm going to show you the money part. There's the money. 2,500, 1,500 goes to Tatiana as a stipend for being our very fabulous town liaison. And then we have an additional $550. So and we didn't spend it all last year. So it's a very modest budget and I want to make sure that we spend all of our money. And so we had a really great conversation. Tatiana, what is his name?
So Josh Levy
Yeah.
is our finance committee liaison.
Yeah. And he was terrific. He reached out and we had a conversation, Tatiana and I with him, and he really supported us using, all of our money. And we talked about some ways to be creative about it. And then Tatiana and I both attended the town budget meeting.
Yes, but I didn't contribute at all. It was all Carol.
Anyway, I just thought it was important, for us to be visible. So anyway, so I went to that. Anyway,
Did a fabulous job, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. So what I want to do is spend our modest $550. So there is some money if somebody wanted to be reimbursed for transportation to going to, for example, MOD training or something like that. MOD training is, I want to make sure we don't talk in acronyms from assuming. What does the MOD stand for? Remind me.
So we can reimburse for the training.
Mass
but
Office
not
on Disabilities.
transportation. Yeah, Mass Office on Disabilities. We can, so if anybody wanted to take, for example, the community, the building monitor training,
That's what I was thinking.
Access monitor training, we can definitely pay for the training. We wouldn't be able to reimburse transportation, but we could pay for the training.
Okay.
Some of the things that we used before were mostly were mostly related to meeting in person. So it was like the paper and the ink and the the laptop needs and things like that. Since we no longer meet on paper, the agendas are online, and we're basically meeting virtually. A lot of that cost has significantly gone away. Some of the things that we have spoken to about in the past maybe is using our money for advertisement. To promote the Commission on Disabilities, promote it within the community. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of community papers now. So advertisement is a little difficult, but that's just some of the things that we have seen in the past that the money was used for. We also have a healthy stock of accessible parking placards that we bought at cost from the DPW's vendor that I still have. I think I've only sold 3 my entire career with Commission on Disabilities. But that is a service that is available to town businesses if they want to buy accessible parking placards at cost. We sell them for $25. And that's another, used to be another cost for decals and for the parking signs themselves. But like I said, we still have a very healthy stock of them. So there hasn't been a need to purchase more.
Yeah. And so since we're getting towards the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, correct? I want to make sure, that we spend this $550. So, if there's a training somebody would like to go to, just, shoot us an email and let us know. But, barring that, or if there's any advertising we want to do, we thought maybe we could host, an event at the library and then pay like an honorarium of the $550, for somebody to, speak on a topic. So we really want to just spend a moment to sort of brainstorm on this a little bit, or see if you have any thoughts or ideas, or maybe think about it and we can talk about it at the March meeting, because I want to make sure we spend this money.
Do we
When
want
is the
to?
deadline for spending it?
I think it's June 30th.
June 30th, and that has to be, the goods have been received or the service has been received, and the bill has been paid by June 30th.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's really more like a month before that, because it takes so long to process things.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to give find a reason to give that money to someone, but also have an event that highlights 1 or 2 of the local businesses that we would talked about? Like that could be a way to get some press out of an event.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah, so having an event for the public would also be a good way, because we could use the money for refreshments or coffee, things like that. So if I know we've been talking about certain initiatives, so there was something that we wanted to celebrate. we can give the money away to a business. That would probably be more on the grant side. But if we were to host an event for a business or something,
Right.
that will be a way to spend that money.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not really a lot of money, so probably one event would do it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
do you have an idea of like, are you thinking?
Well, it feels like the money would be, I just don't know how many people we can get to an event. I mean, maybe we can, but it feels like the money would probably be better served given to the senior center or like Needham Community Council or Charles River Center to like buy something purposeful. And then maybe you take a tiny bit about of that money and give it to coffee or something like that. It just feels like that might be something that has more legs and can reach more people. But I still did like the idea of at least, even if we like DIY'd it, printed it out, made a certificate for a couple of the businesses in town that
Yeah.
do a good job of being accessible, and
Yep.
then have that as something we can do every year as just a reason to get some press for what this committee actually does.
Karen, I could ask, I don't know if this is an appropriate use of the money, but what if we were to buy them coffee? Like, you know what I mean? Like as
An appreciation, a
recognition.
recognition.
Appreciation.
A small appreciation and like some sort of a certificate that they could
Yeah.
put like, or some decal that I could even design and get it printed. It's going to cost like $10 myself. Like just some sort of a
No,
decal.
but that would also be a good use of the
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
to engage like a printing service for that,
Yeah, printing service to get it that's like, Needham Disability Commission Business of the Year or something like that. That would be,
Yeah.
I don't know, just an interesting thing to sort of raise.
Do you
the
want to
level.
send me the wording of what you think it will?
Sure.
And then I can work with like a graphic designer and see if we can come up with something.
Yes, I love that. I love
right.
that.
All right. So unless anybody has any other thoughts, I mean, let's go with that for now and sort of flush that out and then maybe come back and finalize that, at our March meeting.
Okay.
All right. Terrific. So that's all Jeannie and I had for the committee chair report. So if there's no questions for us, I will turn it over to Tatiana for the town liaison report.
Thank you. So a couple of things. I had been asked to inquire as to whether we could promote the Commission on Disabilities support of the accessible trail bill. However, we do have we're working on a social media policy that clearly indicates that we're unable to use towns' social media platforms to advocate on policy matters. So even though this is a good one and something that we should show support for, the policy applies to all policy making, so we're unable to use it to provide support. I also wanted to get just clarification around the autism awareness program that we're working with. I've tried a couple of times with Nicholson Shoes, and they haven't gotten back to me as after the initial report of support, but I know the Common Room had actually shown interest. So yeah, Maureen, so I just wanted to clarify. So I think for the most, like the ideal way will be for us to pay the bill directly to autism awareness, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, Maureen, do you have any update on when that training might be taking place?
I just sort of clarify that both of them committed to actually doing the training. So both Common Room and Michelson's. Michelson's might be further down the road, but Common Room really wants to do it soon because they open within, I don't know, within a week, probably they're going to be open. So I just followed back up. I had sent her, the woman at the Autism Alliance, their contact information and asked them to make direct, connection because I didn't need to be in the middle of it all. So they did make contact, and it looks like the Common Rooms is going to be held on April 8th. So it's going to come up soon. So that was good to hear. And I'll be curious. I want to sort of talk about or figure out a way to, I've talked to the Needham Observer, had called and asked me questions about the training. And I said, I think we should hold off until somebody actually goes through the training and can actually talk about it, because now we have these two two companies that are actually agreeing to do it. And I think it would be really cool to hear what they have to say, what they learned. Hopefully it's a very positive experience and might encourage others to do the same. And we're sponsoring them. And I don't think we can continue to sponsor people into the future. Probably not going to be able to afford to do that. So
as a matter of process, I just wanted to clarify something. We're doing this as a grant out of the accessible parking fund. So the process in the past has been for businesses to submit a grant award form, much like the school department does when they ask for money from the commission. Now, I'm happy to help make this process easier for them, but Alex, I don't know if you remember, but did we vote on awarding the money? Because I think that we do require a vote to award the money to both Mickelson and the common room. So I'm happy to fill out the grant forms, with their permission to make it easier for them,
okay.
and then just make sure that we can put that on the agenda for next month, so that there's a formal vote, because I need that in hand to be able to have my accounting department disperse the money when the time comes.
Okay.
So, okay, perfect. So I'll work
And
on
I know
that.
you said I had explained to the Autism Alliance that they should bill, that it would go to the town, and I told them where to send it to so that the invoice went directly to you, so that we would just sort of pay it directly and do it that way and not involve the businesses.
Like I said, I whatever we can do to make it easier for them, I'm game for. It's just that I'm just thinking, I need the award. I'm sorry, the grant application and the minutes saying that you guys voted on to award it, so I can disperse the money. So I just want to make sure we go through that process, so I don't have any problems.
Okay.
This is great because it sets up those two businesses to get an award next year, right? That's perfect. And we can always look for these opportunities, and maybe that gets geared up when we do these annual reports every year, that it's these are sort of some of our hero stories of the impact, where we can look to merchandise our efforts a little bit more with stuff that feels tangible and sticky and has a little more buzzworthiness.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for that.
That's good.
I also wanted to share that the Massachusetts Commission on Disability, together with the town of Dayton, the ADA coordinator for the town of Dayton, put on in municipal ADA coordinator training on January 25th that I attended. And it was basically just almost like a peer group for resources, training, and just to share objectives and goals and what is everyone working on and all of that. We had a kickoff meeting on January 25th that was well attended. I have to say, I was pleased to see the number of ADA coordinators and other interested parties. Not every community is lucky enough to have a dedicated ADA liaison, but most people that dabble in either HR or building or even public works are sometimes involved with accessibility. So we talked a lot about, just basically where can we get a technical and technical assistance and information, maybe having a peer resource group where we can troubleshoot issues with each other. We're going to have quarterly meetings where we can talk about some of the challenges that we see in our own communities, and then also just put out more information about grant opportunities, changes to the legislation, and other things that will be relevant to the work that we do. So very happy to be part of the group, and I will continue to update you as we continue to meet.
That's great.
Lastly, I just wanted to share a feel-good story. Last night at the select board's meeting, we had presentations by different engineering firms on the downtown streetscape project that the town is obviously working on. I just wanted to say I happened to be there for a different matter, but I attended it. I don't know if anybody did. It was very heavily focused on accessibility. So it was just really great to see how that's at the forefront of the sign now when it comes to street sidewalks, the way that people move through the town, and how we can continue to make it a lively downtown that people want to come to and spend time in, and with accessibility at the forefront of every decision that we make. So I think it was just really great to see that that is no longer an afterthought. So I was glad to hear that. I was glad to see that. And then finally, I just wanted to put it out there. I am trained as a community access monitor person, but if anyone else is interested in taking the training, it is offered by the Massachusetts Office of Disability. There are a couple of buildings that were done during COVID that you still need to walk through. Babs and I were the designated people to do it, but we do need more people to get involved with that because it does take at least 3 people to do those. And so I was driving by the Emery Grover building. The renovation should be done at the end of this year. So I just putting it out there. If somebody wants to get involved with community access monitor training, now's the time to do it.
Didn't Lynn take that training?
Did she?
She took a training right when she was joining, and it was I think Lynn Rodman took that training.
Oh,
It was Lynn.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, Jeannie. Yeah. But it sounds like we need 3 people to do
We need
those.
at least 3 people because these buildings are big.
Yep.
And there's a lot to go through.
Okay.
I mean, Babs and I still joke about being the queens of the restroom because we took the 2 of us like 2 hours to do one restroom at the library.
Yeah. And what's the commitment involved in terms of doing the training offered by the MOD?
I think it's only 2 days. I don't know if it has, 2 days.
Oh, that's right. I remember from Lynn, it's a 2-day training. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Masumi. Yep.
Okay, I want to know that when is this training, or what should we do to do it? For example, if I want to do it.
Okay. Tatiana, do you have the information that you could forward to Masumi on when the next training is?
Let me see if they have sent that out.
Yep.
I will look it up and forward.
Okay, so it's a 2-day training, Masumi, and we'll get you the information and you can let us know if you're interested.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, great. Tatiana, anything else?
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, that was a high note to end on. Thank you. So moving along to the committee reports, we don't have anybody from the school committee, but Felix, I'm so glad that you're here tonight to talk about accessible parking.
Thank you. Yes. So I apologize to everyone for having missed the last many months, of the meetings. I'm going to be taking that role again, but I'm actually really looking forward to taking that role again of accessible parking liaison. But I am asking if someone has a copy of the letter so I don't have to recreate the wheel, just to send to businesses and copy over to Kelly, just so that I can use that to start the process over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Tatiana or Jeannie, I think you're the only 2 that might have that letter that Debbie created this. Do either one of you have that letter?
I'm looking for it.
And Tatiana, remember there was that old laptop when I first joined and I was the secretary that you gave me to use and that I finally just like handed back? There was a bunch of documents on there, so it could be there. I don't know what the heck ever happened to that.
I'll have to go through back because this is only giving me as far back as 4 years. And I know that Debbie wasn't really all that active in the last 3, so I'll have to.
All right, Jeannie is going to attempt something. So.
Thank you. And that's all I have this month on parking. I'm anticipating next month, once I have that letter, to have much more of a response.
Yeah, I mean, and I know the Sudbury signs are not right. Every week when I go there, it drives me crazy, but I haven't said anything because I think we should probably use the formal process and send them a letter. But Jeannie, were you trying to jump in and say something? Did she put something in the chat? Nope. Anyway, Felix, we're going to make an attempt to find you the letter so you don't have to recreate that from scratch. Oh, Jeannie is saying that maybe we should reach out to her husband, Jeff, and find out.
I'm sure I can find.
All right. All right. So we're on it, Felix. Don't you worry. We'll get you the letter. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so moving along, Lynn covers the Needham Diversity Initiative. And I don't think there's anything really to report. I just took a quick look at their website, and the MLK event in January was the last event. There's nothing upcoming, but we'll continue to stay connected with them. So over to you, Maureen, for the Local Emergency Planning Committee, otherwise known as the LEPC.
They meet very regularly, have a big group of people from MEMA and the town and fire department, police department. But this time it really was, all it really is to report is just their snow plowing plan and how they assess and how they treat, how they monitor the storms and how they kind of try to stay a step ahead by treating the roads and just monitoring and working through the nights and things like that. But that's really all. That's all they really talked about. It was very focused on snow removal, even though they have hardly had any to remove this winter.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, great. Thank you for that report. So, Karen, we're up to you in terms of recognizing businesses that are welcoming to people with disabilities. We talked about that a little bit. And you're on mute.
Yeah, we talked about that. I sent Tatiana some language to mock up like a decal for the award.
Okay. Great. And I also think we talked about the Autism Alliance already as well. Was there anything else on that, Maureen?
I don't think so. Just that only that I would like to follow up. I have talked to the reporter from the Needham Observer who I had talked to initially about it. And so I would like to follow up with her and hopefully she can reach out to, she knows the person who owns or one of the owners of the common room. So I think I'd like to have her reach out to them and I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to hear what they thought and if it was worthwhile and get some reaction to what they learned and all that.
Okay. And Karen, Alexa, is there an update on the letter to Needham businesses regarding accessibility concerns?
No, Alexa did her job. I did not finish mine.
Okay.
And are we making sure to copy the building department on that letter, since they're kind of the enforcement on 521 CMR?
Yeah,
That's a good thought. Thank you for that.
sure.
Okay, great. Okay. So I think that is all the business that we had on our agenda for tonight. Is there any new business?
Jeannie's raising her hand.
Yep.
And she,
oh yeah, so she's saying when Jeannie and I talked to Masumi that Masumi, you had some concerns about the audible signals and being able to cross safely.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. And we had a former committee member, Bruce Howell. Some of you may remember Bruce, who did a lot of work on this. And so when Jeannie and I talked to Masumi, we thought that that could be something that she could pick up because it really is important. So.
Yes, thank you, Carol, for asking this. I have some problems as a totally blind person to navigate. For example, sometimes some streets don't have any stoplight at all, and like Honeywell, which is, cars are coming fast, and so there sighted people can cross it, it's not difficult. But for me, because there is no stoplight, no audio sign, and I cannot cross it. Some other problems, for example, I have when I'm navigating, I cannot distinguish when I'm walking in the sidewalk. For example, I cannot distinguish if this opening on my right side, for example, is someone's driveway or it is one street, one small street. It should be something on the floor, which I can touch it with the tip of my cane. But in some places they don't have it. So for me, it can be dangerous because sometimes I think it's a driveway and just I cross easily, but it's a street, But these things that I can't tell in details where those places are, but I mean they are there are some problems that it's good that if we can fix these problems and I can navigate without any problem.
Absolutely. So Tatiana, I don't want to stress Jeannie's voice any more than it already has, unless you want to put anything else in the chat, Jeannie. So who should we get in touch with in terms of raising these concerns? Do you know?
I would think if any department, it would be the planning department. They may already have an accessibility plan or long-term, I don't know. But if anyone, that would be the department to first discuss this with.
I can certainly ask.
Okay, so why don't we take that as an action item to find out, you know, which town department we should raise the concerns to, and then I'm assuming we can work with you to sort of get the concerns together so we can raise them and find out, you know, how to best proceed.
I
That's
wonder,
perfect.
I wonder if we also could just bring it to the highway department directly, or if, you know what I mean? If it's like something that needs to
Yep.
go through planning, or if it's, I guess it will depend on the issue. So maybe if we can get a list of the concerns,
Yep.
and then I can shop them around, for lack of a better word, to the departments to see who do I need to start with on this.
Okay, perfect. And so Jeannie puts in the chat that she can reach out to Bruce, who served in this role before, to get more history and ideas for the future. So thanks, Jeannie, for reaching out to Bruce,
Yeah.
and soon I will share those ideas with you. But in the meantime, if you could get your input together, we'll find out the right way to proceed and who to contact.
Thank you. That's perfect. Yes.
All right, good. Anything else in terms of new business? Okay. If not, oh, so we need to do the planning for our next meeting, which is March 18th. So I apologize for the confusion about getting the agenda posted, and we will be so on top of it as we usually are for the March 18th meeting. And we've already talked about some agenda items to come back and revisit the budget, to talk about the next steps with the grant. Anything else that we should add for the March agenda other than our usual items?
Carol, should it be the 19th? It's a Tuesday.
Oh.
The 18th is a Monday.
Oh, all right. I didn't even double check.
Yeah.
So-
Are you
Thank
kidding me?
Maureen.
Yes, thank you. It is indeed the 19th.
I keep looking, I have to count the year, and I keep looking at the wrong
Yep,
month.
nope, it's the 19th. Yep, no worries. So I will, yep. So if you can put that correctly in the minutes, Alexa.
Caller.
Okay. So Tuesday, March 19th at the usual time. And anything else for the agenda, other topics? We will check in about a week before, as we usually do for agenda topics. And if there's nothing else, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, a second. All right, Jeannie. Jeannie, I think you can wave if you're in support of the motion. All right. Tatiana,
Yes.
Masumi,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Alexa,
Yes.
and Felix. Oh, he made the motion. Okay. But he still has to vote.
But yes.
Okay. All right. And Officer Kelly, I don't know if I skipped you or we didn't have you on the agenda. Is there anything that you had to share? We did not mean to leave you out.
No, just we've been very vigilant at Trader Joe's parking lot for handicap violations.
Good.
Very well, yeah, we're watching that real closely lately. So that's about all I have.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So until next month, we'll stay in touch via email. Take care, everybody. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Right,
Have a good
thank you.
night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.